Welcome back, guys. It's Kibler from the Brothers Geek Out podcast. Have another Geek Out session, and as I said to Anna before, I probably butcher it again, but I think got it right. So Anna Koussertari.
Yes,
There you
Koussertari,
go.
yes,
Koussertari.
got
I
it.
got it. Thank you for coming. She even chaired as well. Thanks for coming onto the show on our Geek Out session. Uh, Guys, just to give you a little bit of knowledge, you're a radio host as well, right?
Yes, on FCK FM.
There you go.
They've done a bit of a shake-up now, but yeah, I
Okay.
was doing that for quite a bit.
You're a lover of
Introduced
rock,
the
so
lover of rock,
that's
everything about
awesome.
rock. Yeah.
And cosplaying and modeling. But with the rock part, is there a favorite song or are there too many? Is that a question you can't just ask anybody who loves rock?
Ooh, there's way too many. I have to say, old school rock is,
Hmm.
I like to hear the melodies and I like
Hmm.
the riff of
Yeah.
the guitars and how the rock music just plays out. But there's an awful lot of female lead singers that are just literally flooding the market at the minute,
Okay.
and they're all over TikTok. All of a sudden, people have discovered rock on TikTok because let's just face it, mainstream music is boring
Yep.
and repetitive. I mean,
That's right.
obviously, they can't think of anything new, so they rip off the melodies and the lyrics of what we used to listen to. But if you're Gen X, by the way. Anything over Gen X, you won't get it. But everything that you're listening to now, we heard it, we did it first. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
no.
mean, there's so many different types of rock genre coming through. It's incredible. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been to the Download Festival that's
Hmm.
been happening, or obviously you've got, all the big fests that are coming up or have been done, but they're all coming back, they're all coming out the woodworks. The old boys are all coming back. I think Kiss have now recently split up now, but
That's right. Yeah, from what I've seen
yeah,
online. Yeah.
from what I've heard, I wish they didn't, but they have. But there's only so much that can keep going,
I know, of
isn't
course. I
it?
mean, you're going way back, and for them to continue this long, which is
Mm,
amazing because we'll touch base on like the comic book and pop culture world and how stories continue. Same thing with music. I mean, bands still go in. I was
yeah,
speaking to a cover band from the States that cover John Bon Jovi's tracks. They're called Brown Jovi, so they're an Asian band that cover Bon Jovi's tracks. And they were just saying, like how music has just kind of they've got to a point where they can continue for like, I mean, talking 50 plus years of music. It's a
yeah.
massive legacy that you leave behind, but it must be so hard to try and let go of that.
It is, and what I've experienced while doing the show and stuff like that is a lot of my generation don't want to let go of it. They're happy to continue to listen and repeat those brilliant albums. And you've got small pockets. I mean, obviously you've got Slipknot, you've got
Hmm.
Hellstorm now coming through, you've got Greta Van Fleet and all that. They're all coming through and they're all great bands and they're fantastic. But sometimes they just mix it and they're not got that rock essence, if you know what I
Hmm.
mean, that we
No, of
used
course.
to know. And they go splitting off into more pop, but some of these bands like Slipknot and Hellstorm especially, they bring it back and they
Mm.
keep going with it. And you've got quite a lot of, I mean, there was a lady that I'm following on TikTok at the minute. She's called Noelle Melody Lyric Noelle.
Okay.
She's like
I'll have to
cross
check it out.
between metal and rock, and she's fantastic. She's doing quite a lot of cover work, but what a
Nice.
fantastic voice. I mean, this is I mean, I discovered her on TikTok for crying out loud, and I'm bloody hell, what a voice. And I'm noticing a lot of these youngsters who are coming out in metal and rock are debuting on TikTok, and they're getting a massive audience. So it's well worth thinking about if you want to move into that world, is get yourself on TikTok at the minute, innit?
I mean, we're in a generation now which is absolutely amazing where you can put yourself out on social media where I'm an 80s baby. Before trying to get in contact with somebody from a studio would be writing a letter.
Yeah.
Uh, if you could get a phone number, then you're lucky to, get connected to the right person. But, I think when I got into my artwork in the late 90s and then going into the early 2000s, that's how I would give my portfolio, would be an A3 envelope with all my artwork to different studios, where now
No.
we have social media where we
Sure.
can post it up, and you don't know who's gonna like your post or who it can reach and who it can touch in many emotional ways. Uh, it's amazing what social
I
media
think
can
it's
do now.
really important to understand now, and that cross all from music to comics to design, everything like that, is I've noticed that social media does play a big part. And the only way to get noticed is to be yourself, an
Mhm.
individual. I mean, to put on a front and an act and like they used to do in the 80s is no more anymore, especially in
No.
modeling. I mean, in my world, in the modeling world, back in the 80s, you had to be thin, blonde, high cheekbones. They had a look. And Mediterranean looking girls like me didn't have a chance, didn't have a
Mhm.
chance. But slowly, the one good thing about this new generation is they haven't been afraid to stand up and go, hang on a minute, I don't want to see fake anymore. I want to
Mhm.
see normal. I want to see a
Yes.
normal body. I want to see a normal attitude. I want to see a normal opinion now. And have you noticed the adverts as well on your TV is started to change as well? So they introduce
Mhm.
more diversity, more coloring.
Yes.
I mean, all you saw was white people. Now you've got Indian people, Greek people, Spanish people, and
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And I like the way that they're doing it. So it opens up all avenues. And I think also it does cross over into comics. So
Mhm.
when I started to get into the whole comic thing, um, it was like, oh, do you know what I mean? Oh, you're a geek. Oh, what's all that about? Do you know what I mean? You got that look, you got that
Yes, that's right.
type
Yeah.
look. You got what? You going to Comic Con? I went, yeah. And we didn't meet up, did we, at
No, we didn't.
Olympiana? We missed each other.
I just missed you. I do remember meeting you. We have crossed paths, and
Yes.
I think it was at MCM Comic Con. It was with Wolver Steve. That's our mutual guys.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Wolver Steve.
Yay.
Uh, and I can't remember. I think you were Jessica Jones. He was X Force Wolverine. I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Ghost Rider there as well. We're talking about way back.
Way back. My God, that was when we were
Yeah,
standing in the queue waiting for them to get some
I think it was John
signature.
Romita. Yeah,
Yeah.
signature. I think it was Chris Claremont.
Yes.
Yes,
I
that's right. Oh my
remember
God. Yes.
that was my second Comic Con.
Wow.
So I went to my first one, which was Olympiana. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's when I caught the bite. And it's really funny because it came on the radio the very first time I went to Olympiana in London, everybody. And it was massive.
Hmm.
We had the biggest names. It's when Walking Dead was massive.
Hmm.
It's when Benedict Cumberbatch was massive with Doctor Strange, is
Doctor
it?
Strange. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we went there, we saw everybody. We saw all the cast of the old Star Wars. We saw Baywatch. Pamela Anderson was there. We saw, the Superman, the originals. I
Was it?
was there to meet Margaret Kidder. If you don't know who
Oh
Margaret Kidder is,
wow.
she was the original, and I think the best
Lois
Lois
Lane. Yeah.
Lane they've ever. They can't match her. She was beautiful. She was gritty. She was brilliant, and I haven't seen anybody that matches her. Apart
No.
from, apart from, I can't remember her name. She's Lois and Superman now, the series Lois and Superman.
Oh, I can't remember her name,
Lois
but
and
you're
Clark. I can't
Lois.
remember what it
Yeah,
is.
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Uh,
that actress, she plays in Grimm as well.
mhm.
I can't remember her name. I wish I remember her name.
You know
But
what?
she's almost like Margaret Kidder's character. She brings out that feisty, not too good looking, not too, but she's still quite good looking, brainy, fantastic. And I was there to see her, but I didn't get to see her because she was ill.
Hmm.
But I got to see the original Darth Vader actor.
Wow.
And then the year after he died,
That's right.
and I saw the original actor who played the Wookiee, and the year later he died. But he died, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it's just me. Everybody's dropping dead.
Oh no.
I was like mortified. So I never got to meet her. I never got to get her autograph.
Oh.
And it was like the pinnacle and ultimate thing for me because I knew that at some point, you know, all the cast was gonna, you know, fade away and
Hmm.
unfortunately get old and die. But she was it for me. I was like, oh, and I was gutted, absolutely gutted. But I met some fantastic people that year.
It's amazing.
This year, when we went back, it was a little bit sparse on the old celebrities because Olympiana's more, you know, film and television,
Hmm.
and I don't know why they didn't manage to attract quite a lot of the big names, maybe because they're still stuck in America. I don't know. But
It's a
it
diff
almost felt like it was more because it's not really a cosplay of the
No,
Olympiana.
no, it's not. No.
So me and Steve was like, oh, is anybody else going to come in cosplay?
It's a
We got
difficult one
there
because
early.
I remember, and we're going way back when MCM used to start in like a hotel room in, I think it was in Houston. They had like a conference room that everybody used to go to, and I used to cosplay back then, and I used to do Wolverine and Doctor Strange. But when we went to Olympia, that I noticed that it's a bigger platform for the big stars and the big comic book writers. But as you said, this time around, it did feel really small,
Mm,
and they didn't have the big names, and only because there's so many more events now. Like you've got Liverpool Comic Con that get the great guests. You've got Telford in Wales that gets really good guests. Scotland, they're bigger than MCM and London Film and Comic Con now. So I feel like they get the better guests now than what we used
mm,
to get back then. Because you're right. I think the last good one I went to is when I met Michael J. Fox, and
mm.
that was probably the most packed I've ever seen it. It was the 35th anniversary for Back to the Future. And it was me in Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, and some of the cast from Back to the Future. So Back to the Future is my movie, my all-time favorite movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, then you're gonna like what I'm gonna say then.
Go on.
Oh, so just jumping a bit. So one of the questions you were gonna ask me about is who's my favorite character, isn't it? Or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, let me get you backstory, everybody. So when I was a kid, I was a bit of a tomboy, okay? And I wouldn't play with Barbies and, you know, put makeup on and play nurse. That wasn't me. Somebody bought me, it was late 80s. Somebody bought
Hmm.
me a Spider-Man pajamas, and that was it. I was a Spider-Man girl. I was hanging from the ceiling. I was climbing up trees, all in this pajamas. I had the little hat that you put, the little skull hat.
Brilliant.
And I tell you what, this thing had so many holes, and I wouldn't let go of it. It came up to my knees. I loved it. And then
Oh.
I, I wasn't, I call myself a mini geek. So I'm not
Hmm.
fully fledged, graduated as a geek yet. But so I'm a mini geek. I will get there. I will graduate soon. But I only noticed the comics when I used to go into HMV. Remember HMV?
Yeah.
Saturdays, bombing into HMV, and you could spend a good hour in there, couldn't you?
Hmm. Yeah,
Flipping
definitely.
through all the mags, looking through all the cassettes or the DVDs or whatever.
That's
So
right, yeah.
bomb it in there and had a look at all the comics. And some of them used to be hardback, some of them used to be paperback.
Hmm.
And my ultimate one, I think the best comics in Spider-Man are the Ultimate Spider-Man series.
Cool.
And then filters into, I read a couple of the Amazing Superman series,
Hmm.
2007, I think it came out. I really like Back in Black. I think
Yeah.
it was series, off the top of my head, 150, 539, something like that, 530 series.
Let's double
I don't know,
check.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
Something between
you're still doing good.
539 and 543. The
Double
Amazing
check.
Spider-Man. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm right, that's a gold star. But I think it's 2007, and that was the last time I sort of kind of like read a Spider-Man comic. And then it sort of kind of filtered up to, I mean, Harley was coming quite big at that
Mhm.
point.
You're
Um,
right. You're so right.
am
It
I
was
right?
2007.
Gold
Yeah,
star.
I'm telling you guys, you're still a geek at heart.
I
Honestly, there's no
am.
levels. There's no
I
levels.
am.
There's no
Definitely.
levels. You did that really well. That's really good. That's a good series as well.
That's
So
off the
yeah,
top of my head. But things
absolutely.
I used to love. I mean, people complain about the artwork from the Ultimate Spider-Man series, but to me, it was amazing. To me, because you know, when I'm not modeling or doing DJing or anything like that, my
Mm,
day job is design. So I'm a graphic
yeah.
designer by day. And so
Wow.
I always look at the artwork.
Yeah.
Or every time I go to a Comic-Con, I always love to go up to speak to all the
The
artists
artist,
and the
yeah.
storytellers, because at the end of the day, it's their stories, it's their artwork that gets jettisoned into TV world and basically brings everything to life. But these guys are incredible, and in my minds and the stories that they come up with. But yeah, it was so artwork's artwork. Everybody has a different style, a different
Of
flavor.
course.
And I
That's
don't
right.
think
I think
anybody should say, oh, I didn't like the artwork. But it's a story. I mean, now I'm fearful that AI is just going to make everything look so fake. It's a bit like
it's a very good point you got there. Very
do you
good
know what I
point.
mean? It's
Very
not
good point.
got that blood, sweat, and you know when somebody's done a really good bit of artwork when you go to a gallery or when you go
No, exactly. Let me show
when
you.
you see it on street art as well. I think it's really important that you see that rawness and that
You want
attitude
you want to
towards,
see
oh, look at
process,
that.
right? So I haven't finished this. I started this at the beginning. Can't even see it properly, but it's
Oh
supposed to
yeah,
be
yeah,
Tony Stark, Iron Man. It's a canvas piece, but you know, with canvases, I've learned
yeah.
that it takes time.
Fine.
I've started it. I know I'll eventually finish it, but I think with AI, as you said, everything's starting to look fake. And like I've worked with Adobe in the past and had
Mm.
so many questions to them when it came to what's the ethical way of doing this job without, you know, how do you use this tool without people abusing it and artists that actually do the work? Somebody with AI can go in with their portfolio and they'd get the job.
Yeah, I think that's why
So
it's important that films like, say, like Lord of the Rings. You remember Lord of the Rings when it first came out? It was one of the last movies where they actually used people's talent to
mhm.
create those masks, to create that, the orcs look
Yeah,
and to
yeah, yeah, that's right.
create it.
Yeah.
And then obviously the AI'd all the other bits and pieces. But they used people's talent. And what got me about the Marvel movies was it started off so well and then they just used so much AI. It just made it fake
Hmm.
and it made it unpleasant to watch. The stories were the stories, that they were getting the stories from the comics, but you're like, come on, use people's talent. Stop thinking about how much. I mean, you're going to spend that sort of money on the AI software anyway. So why don't you bring in
So true.
talented people, keep the craft going, and actually create the suits? That's why the X-Men was quite good.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
a
no, definitely. Because it
the
was
very
like,
first, the very first Marvel when they had Iron Man
yeah,
and the X-Men, they put them in the suits,
yeah.
created the makeup, and then yeah, they did use AI as an aspect, obviously, to create the film, but it was great. I mean, there's got to be quite a lot of people going, no, I didn't like it, but you've got to look at it on an artistic point of view. Is they
Oh yeah,
use people's craft, creativity, brought people in, they molded people up, they put people in suits,
that's right.
and
Yeah.
they created a reality that was relatable. Whereas some of these films that they're just churning out is that they jumped on the money wagon and they're churning crap. I mean, that last Flash one. So I like Flash the series. I mean, I'm not a big Flash fan,
Mm-hmm.
but really, really, they try to pass that off. What's the rush? Why are they flooding the market with so many different stories when they can just focus on one
Focal
and
point,
just
right?
make it
Yeah.
good and put
Yeah.
money into it? I mean, like they
No.
did with the Iron Man, even Batman. I mean, when Batman first started, one of my favorite Batmans, point blank, is the Tim Burton,
Mhm.
Michelle Pfeiffer, love that woman. Batman Returns.
Oh,
They
wicked.
had the Penguin, who was Danny DeVito. They had Michael Keaton as Batman, and they had Michelle Pfeiffer, the best Catwoman ever.
Hands
They
down, definitely. Hands
Nobody's
down.
touching her. Every year they bring out these beautiful women, but nobody can touch that woman. That woman played Catwoman, sorry, beautifully.
She did.
Oh my
She did.
God. How can you not? I mean, talk about girl crush. I mean,
You know
cry.
what? Because they released like a 1989 comic version, and I remember buying all the covers with Catwoman on it, and I'm like, to this day, even when I draw her as Michelle Pfeiffer
As Michelle
because
Pfeiffer.
I feel like she kind of stapled that into the
Oh,
history of
hmm.
the Catwoman actresses that have played this character, but she's absolutely awesome. But I know the feeling of I think me and my brother talk about this on the podcast a lot. Is about having that tangible feeling when you watch something. I suppose
Mm,
that's why I still love Labyrinth. I still love Neverending Story. I still love all of these movies, fantasy movies, The Dark Crystal, because they have physical objects there that people put a lot. Like Jim Henson put a lot of work into
yeah.
special effects back then because it was physical.
And I
And
think that's why this new generation, millennials and
mm,
Gen Zs and all and Alpha, is it Alpha? They don't connect with that because their whole entire upbringing is being fake,
mm,
repetitive music that they've just discovered. Oh, I've just discovered this. That was done already.
that's right.
Nothing's new anymore.
No,
There's
no,
no
no.
new music. I mean, you get obviously that's why I love rock and I've loved rock ever since because when they bring out rock, yes, forget about them doing covers, but everything they bring out is original, the
That's right.
original music, whereas pop, dance, garret, whatever you're into now, I
Hmm.
think pop now, there's very small artists that actually now write their own music. I mean, forget, you got your Taylor Swifts and your other, who's the other one? I don't know, whoever.
I'm still an old school
Yeah,
guy, so
they're writing their lyrics as
yeah,
well. And that's why, and you can see because they're writing their lyrics and they're going really well. Sia is another one.
that's
She
right.
writes
Yes,
her
there
own
you go.
lyrics.
Yeah,
I mean, there's pockets that, Ed Sheeran, they write their lyrics. And so they're delivering an original piece of
piece of
music.
song. Yeah, that's right.
But the market, again, I don't know what it is about this market. They just keep churning out repetitive old melodies, old way of stealing the melodies from 1980s 1990s and ramping it up. I mean, they took a famous Shakira tune, and they ramped it up into a nice little dance song. I went, oh really? I just prefer the original.
It's like a. I mean, I've worked in marketing for over 10 years, so it's quick turnaround and how you get people to. Our brains are programmed so badly. So same
Mm,
thing with radio stations. How we get a song to number one is because it's repeated programming,
yeah.
and it's how you program the user to continuously do what we do, basically, or listen to what we want to listen to, watch what we want to watch, and sway our decisions when it comes to shopping. Uh,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
it's control. Uh,
I
we have
know.
control over the market. We'll have control over what you listen to. We have control over what you watch. I mean, algorithms is a perfect example.
Oh.
My friend was saying, like, oh my God, like so I've got an art page, and she was like, I don't even see your page no more. And you've got so much artwork that you put up on there. And I'm like, the algorithm's all over the place. I post it up. I'm lucky enough if people see it, but there's nothing I can do there for you to say, here's a new piece of artwork. Because
Mm.
you could bombard people with messages and say, oh my God, look at this, look at this, look at that. And then you're like, I didn't put it up there to bombard people. It was like, if somebody gets inspired by it or somebody does come across it and see it, like the old Instagram, because you
Mm.
get to see everybody's stuff, and you now it's advertising and people who've got the most likes and views, and it's like I don't get to even see my own friends list, which is
But I'm not too sure if people actually know what TikTok used to be. TikTok
no,
used to
yeah,
be an app called Musically,
yeah,
and my nephews and nieces used to come round to my house and they used to dance and sing. And I was like, well, what are you dancing? Oh, it's Musically, it was a kid app for kids.
wow,
And so obviously they saw the potential in that, and literally they kicked the kids out and made it into an adult platform called TikTok. And I thought to myself, well, this is the problem now, because you didn't do a kid version of TikTok. So the kids still got their Musically or their kid version of TikTok. So they don't cross over into an adult platform
that's
where
right, yeah,
obviously they're privy to all sorts of opinions and
hmm
videos or whatever and keep it. But they didn't do that. They just threw out this app. It got massive in COVID. They made a ton of money from it. And the kids are now using things like Snapchat, and they've gone back to Snapchat. Snapchat lost its rhythm at one point, and now they're doing
come back to
Snapchat.
it,
So you're
that's
like,
right, yeah,
you know, are we ever going to move away? No. Should social media get shut down? No. Why should it? it's the way of the future. How do we
That's right.
control that? I don't think we're ever going to get control. Everybody's got way too much to say, way too many opinions.
No, that's right.
But it's like, I think there should be a way that the apps can be aged controlled. So
That's
it's a
right.
bit like
That'd be good.
when you give your child a phone and they can't go on Google because you've got a parent thing on it and you can lock
That's
it
right.
up. I can't understand why they can't do that on certain apps. So yeah, but that's getting too heavy.
All right, we get heavy on this podcast. I
Get
think we
heavy.
got
That's
we
heavy.
yeah we really go into it because a lot of the listeners that message on Spotify, they always talk about growth. They always talk about what they can do to get out there, but then their fear is that the anxiety to put something out there into the world. You know, like 10 years ago when I decided I'm going to start my art page and I'm going to get my work out there. Did
Mm,
not know nothing about social media, even though I was in marketing. I just never said, "All right, let's
yeah,
let's just put it out there and see where it takes me."
yeah, we were the
I didn't
start.
realize, yeah, like you just have to. I suppose you have
Yeah.
to take that fear away. And my brother always says, and he's a big fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, is ghost and post.
Mm,
So put it out there. Don't read the comments. Just put it out there, and we did. We got you get several different types of people messaging,
mm.
and you just have to ignore it. And now anti-bullying has a control over social, so that some of those posts don't even come up no more because they see a certain word. So there is some sort of control getting in there, but the age restriction part should be important now
Yeah,
because there is
I
stuff on there where you're
personally
like,
think they should create a teen TikTok
yeah, that's right,
and
100%.
move them off, and the same with all sorts. So if you've got a social platform, they should create a teen version of that. I think YouTube have got it, but
Yes.
YouTube have locked it up so much where the only thing that you do see on kids YouTube is really babyfied. So when you've got teenagers up until
Yeah.
the age of 18, they're like, what is this? Do you know what I mean? So they need, I think they need to be able to, have a subtle changeover.
No, of course.
It's
I
like,
think, like as you said, yeah, certain age
yeah.
groups, come out of 8, go into like 13, and then 13 to 16.
But
I
the
think
one
that'd be
thing
really
that
good.
has been really great, and I keep flipping back to our generation, Gen X, but it is the best generation because basically we produced the best stuff. I mean, you
Yeah,
mentioned Labyrinth, you
yeah,
mentioned Back to the Future.
yeah.
You go out there. I mean, I was talking to a bunch of teenagers the other day, right? And they are all watching our 80s films.
Hmm.
And I happen to say, because one of my all-time favorites, so I kind of like flipped from The Crow because I preferred
Okay.
DC. I prefer my characters dark. I prefer them to have problems. prefer them to be real. And
Yeah.
DC manages to do that in their characters, whereas Marvel, it's too,
Kind of.
I'm a hero and I'm going to save the day type thing, and I can't
Hmm.
do, and I'm too perfect. Whereas DC, the actual superheroes got problems.
Hmm.
They've always got a problem. Catwoman's got a problem, Superman's got a problem, Wonder Woman's got a problem. They all got problems. They've all got problematic backstories. And so I used to like The Crow. Now, I don't know if anybody ever used to read any of the comics. They did do a few comic books
I
on
did.
The Crow. And then they brought out the Brandon Lee film.
Hmm.
And that did it for me. Oh, fantastic film.
So
If you
good.
haven't seen it, go and
So
watch it.
good.
And I happened to mention it. The kids went away, they watched it, they came back and went, is he still alive? No. They all fell in love with Brandon Lee. It was like, oh,
Oh,
such a lovely film. But thing
it
is, I'm
is.
like you. I like Blade. I
Hmm.
like the Wesley Snipes Blade. I used to love the Hellboy, the original ones.
Yes, that's right. They're good.
I
Very
wasn't
good.
too, even though I love
David
who
Harbour.
played the evil witch in that?
Uh,
Uh, was it Ava Green?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Evergreen. Yeah,
So I'm a big fan of Ava Green. Like,
she's very cool. Very
oh
cool.
yeah. If you haven't seen the Penny Dreadful series, go and watch it.
Yeah, that's really
Oh,
good. Really good.
top
Yeah.
notch. Oh, um, but then I used to love her with Johnny Depp. You
Yes.
know, when she made that film. Oh my God. Anyway, another girl crush of mine. Ava Green. But thing is, I was really excited when Wednesday came out.
Wednesday was really good.
Oh my
That
God.
surprised the hell out of me. Jenna
And
Ortega was brilliant in it.
oh my God, fantastic. And I like the fact, and people ridiculed her because she didn't want to introduce too much romance and go to that little teenage, I'm going to
No,
find a boy. She really held her and said, that's not Wednesday.
did.
Wednesday don't care about any of that. They want to, you know, look at Wednesday and her moodiness and her attitude problem and all this sort of thing and her relationships with her friends and how she managed to get her through a school life or whatever. Fantastic, brilliant. So that's why I'm really excited about the new Beetlejuice movie coming out
Oh
because I
yeah,
was
same
a
here.
massive Beetlejuice fan. I can't wait. I can't wait for Michael Keaton to come back as
Oh my God,
Beetlejuice.
so cool.
Ramona Ryder as what was her name? Lily. What was her
Oh,
name?
Lillian. I think it
Oh
was
my
Lillian.
God. So
It's
many
all right.
years ago.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Gina Davis is in it. Love Gina Davis, that
Yeah,
woman.
no, she's not in it. Lydia. Her name was Lydia.
Lydia. Yeah,
Lydia.
can't
Yeah.
wait. Can't wait. I think O'Hara's in it. I think
Yes,
is she in
she
it?
is back. Yes, Catherine O'Hara is back as well.
Yes.
It's a great cast. I mean, what's your thoughts on movies coming from the 80s? 30 years later, we're getting the stories again and a
The
continued story as
remakes.
well. Remakes and continued stories. I mean, some of them have worked well, some of them haven't. I mean, with Beetlejuice, again, another big movie of the 80s, which, I absolutely adore. I mean, I never thought, I was never into kind of that type of movie before until that came out. And I was like, wow, why don't we make more movies like this? Because you have that element of, it's like dark comedy. And
Mm,
Michael Keaton has dark comedy written all over him. He's brilliant. I suppose that's why Tim Burton picked him as Bruce Wayne and Batman, that he'd
yeah.
play it in that way really well. What do you think about movies coming out now that we absolutely adore?
S- So I mean Roadhouse is one of them.
Eesh,
So I used to love the old Patrick Swayze Roadhouse, and when
same
they
here.
remade it, I was mortified. They
Oof,
just killed it.
I know.
And you're like, sometimes, most of the time, they get it so wrong. They just
That was
get
wrong.
that feeling wrong. And you know, they're doing something with your favorite, Back to the Future. They think they're coming out with a
They're
new film,
trying
Back to
to.
the
They're
Future.
trying to. They
And
can't. They
I'm
need to just
like
leave it
sitting
alone.
there going, "Ooh,
Yeah, no, they can't. They can't.
I'm not sure." But
hmm
with things like Beetlejuice, when the original film was so good, and then now they're coming out, you're just thinking and hoping and praying they've got the old cast back so that they're listening to their fans. And
hmm
so when they're getting the old cast back, you're just now relying on the storyline.
That's right.
And you're
Exactly that.
hoping that the storyline is going to carry them through. I mean, look at Hellboy. You've got your two original films, fantastic, perfect, lovely. And then they brought out the latest Hellboy. It just didn't have that feeling. They overcomplicated the story. They overcomplicated the AI. They just, do you know what I mean? It just didn't have that. Nobody talks anymore in a movie. You know, there's no dialogue in a movie anymore.
There's no good dialogue. Yeah.
There's no
There's
story, and that's what was happening with most of the Marvel and DC. Now, I really liked Suicide Squad. A lot of people sort of
Which one?
said,
The
"Oh,
first
it's
one or the
bad."
second one with
The
James Gunn?
first one, the
Okay.
second one was bad, but the first one I really enjoyed it because we were introduced to a new style of Harley Quinn because Harley Quinn didn't look like that.
hmm
So they revamped Harley Quinn. They introduced us to a new bunch of characters where a lot of us probably knew, but started to come back. The storyline could have been a lot better. It could have been not, the Will Smith show. And so we got a little bit more backstory to all the other characters as well. But do you know what I mean? There was something there and it was an enjoyable film. For me, it was an enjoyable film. Could
Did
it have
you
been
watch?
better? Yeah.
Did you watch the uncut version, the director's cut?
No, I haven't watched the director's cut.
I think there's
Is
like
there a
30
director's
minutes
cut?
extra. There's a director's cut. There's an extended cut, they call it. It's
Oh.
not David Ayer's cut, but David Ayer has a different version of this movie. Now, I feel sorry for that director. I think he's absolutely amazing. One of my favorite directors in like the early, like the 2000s, I've got to say.
Mm,
Uh, he's got a cut of the movie which is completely different to what they released, and a completely different soundtrack as well.
mm.
So
I've got
the
to watch that then.
studio played a big part of not wanting to get this movie out the way he saw it and way he saw the characters. They the studios really play a big part of when it comes to messing up stories. I gotta say, because they did that for a lot with the DC stuff. Only
Yeah.
because there was nobody in control of what was happening. With Marvel, you had Kevin Feige. He kind of had a roadmap of where he wanted to
Yeah.
go to, which we got. Like as much as I think Phase One for me, like I wasn't a big fan of Phase One. I didn't like the original Iron Man, and I didn't like Captain America. I didn't like Thor. These were the B team
Oh,
characters because
yeah.
I've always loved the X-Men. So I was like, oh my god, they did the X-Men, but they didn't do it exactly the way I wanted it. But they're doing Iron Man and Cap, and they're doing it in a different style, and I'm like, it doesn't match up with their comic book stories, and I'm like,
Thing is, again, it's too much. It's a bit like they
yeah,
killed Spider-Man. I
yeah,
mean, how many times have we seen the Spider-Man movie? We've gone right back to the beginning, and then we watched all the three movies with, what was it, Tobey Maguire was his name?
yes,
And
Tobey
then
Maguire,
we
yeah.
had another one, and we went back to the beginning, and then we did it all over again. And then now we've gone back to the beginning, we've done it all over again. So in the end, you ended up getting really bored of the character. The same
You
with
get the
Batman, but with Batman, it was a little bit strange because you had the Tim Burton ones that
Mhm.
were really quite comicky. Let's just face facts. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I loved Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, but the whole film was a little bit too OTT.
yeah.
The two original films were fine. They were great. They're fantastic. Tim Burton nailed it, especially obviously Batman Return was the best. And then they continued it with a darker Batman with was it Christian Bale? Christian Bale was a really good one
Yeah,
as
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Batman. I mean, a lot of people would go, yeah. I mean, they had um Heath Ledger as the Joker. Uh, my God, you
Hmm.
can't match him. I don't think they had a better Joker. Joaquin Phoenix was a good Joker, and I loved that film.
Hmm.
Really, you just
Good
saw
film.
the other side. And when they're churning films like that out, where they're focusing on the character, they're focusing on the backstory. That's why I like the DC. I mean, love it or hate it, you knew where the Joker was coming from, and you got a backstory of how he went, just how his brain just clicked and went into that dark side and the evil side and hating humanity side of things.
Yeah.
And then you fit that in with Batman, and you kind of like put two and two together. So those films fit really, really well. So Batman can't, and then they came out with, who's the new one with who's
Oh.
the main
Robert
star?
Pattinson.
Right.
Yeah,
See,
Robert
now
Pattinson.
I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence with Robert Pattinson. He delivered on that film,
In the
but
suit, he
then
delivered. Yeah.
and it was a good film because do you
Yeah.
know what? They brought in the suggestion of Catwoman, and my heart was in my throat thinking, please don't say she's Catwoman. Please don't say she's Catwoman.
Mm.
But she never came out. Zoe Kravitz, I think her name, isn't it? Zoe.
That's right. Yep.
She didn't come out in the film as saying she's Catwoman at
No.
all. It
Just
was the
Selena Kyle. Yeah.
mere,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the mere suggestion. And I think she would be the number two if they were to do a spin-off as Catwoman or introduce her in the next film as Catwoman. I think she would be a really good candidate. Now, I'm not saying that Halle Berry or Anne Hathaway weren't any good as Catwoman, but their
Mm.
storyline and the way they sexualized Catwoman was ridiculous. Those two movies were ridiculous. That wasn't the character.
No.
She had a complex backstory, and it just, you're just satisfying a sexualization of a woman. We want to see what this woman is all
She's
about.
going through. Yeah. What she's gone
And
through.
and with the new Batman, it was okay, it was a good film, maybe slow at times, but you got excited because this woman the suggestion of Catwoman, oh, here we go. But you know that the film industry is not going to go there because they've had 2, 3 failed Catwoman standalone movies. So you're like, But now they've got somebody that could actually play and match Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Who
I
knows?
think they did. I think what Matt Reeves did in that one was really good. I think
Was good.
when I spoke to him about the film, he didn't want to put it out there in the world like that, just to
No,
say, "Oh, this is Catwoman." Let's. You have to put a powerful story behind any character,
got a
and I think what
dialogue.
she was going through and what she wanted to do and how she wanted to be represented is important. And I think every comic book character
Yeah.
or any character needs a solid story for you to back them up, for you to understand what they're going through. And I think,
Dialogue.
yeah,
Give
Matt
them a
Reeves did that.
script.
Yeah,
Give them a story.
yeah.
Stop coming in, waving your ass in the air and hoping that you're going to grab attention. We want a story.
Mhm.
They're not meeting today's expectations. If all of our adverts on our TV is of the normal person, the normal opinion, the
Yeah.
gritty, the everyday working person, they want to see that in a movie script as well. They don't want to see perfect
No,
anymore.
it's not like that. No,
We've
we
gone with the
don't live in
days
that.
of being perfect. We want to see raw. We want to see broken.
No, it's
We
true.
want
It's
to see
because
day to day.
we
Of
connect to it. We connect to it so much more. And
course we
I think
will.
that's really important what you said there is because even with, as you said, general marketing every day is getting to see the real you, isn't it? And as you said about social media, it's about seeing the real you. Like my friends still don't understand, how are you still doing this? You're 43 years old, you know. What is it that pushes you to still love this stuff? And I was like, honestly, brings it still keeps that kid alive, you
The
know.
thing is, right, also is, again, growing up, we used our imaginations. We didn't
Yes,
have laptops, we didn't have
yes.
computers, we didn't have apps. So we were always playing in the garden or on a street, we were in a field somewhere or in the wood, and we were,
The
in
imagination.
England when it wasn't raining, we were building dens, weren't we?
Yes. Oh
In the
my God.
forest. So in England, in America, there was, jumping railway lines. In England, we were doing dens
Yes,
and we
Dens.
were creating, cowboys and Indian stories. We were using our imaginations. And so, unfortunately, the newer generation forget that they have an imagination and they need to tap into it. And now they're looking for reality. They're not looking for fake anymore.
Mm.
And because obviously the industries keep putting out fake movies, when I say fake movies, they don't want to see a movie anymore that is just so AI'd to the point where there is just no storyline. If you want to see a romance, we want to see a romance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We don't want
of
to
course.
see, a lovely man and a woman get together all of a sudden. We want to see the problems that they've had getting
Yeah.
together and without AI. Do you know what I mean? And so, and that's the problem with now films. I mean, this is why Korean films, I mean, I'm actually into Asian films at the minute
Okay.
because the American market is so bad. They're coming out with such crap. I mean, I'm a horror freak as well. I love,
Okay.
oh, massive. I mean, I'm a big horror fan. But the horror movies that I've been seeing from America are so rubbish. I mean, but you put on a Korean
Tough one.
horror movie,
It's a
yeah,
different
you're
world, isn't
turning
it?
the light on at night. You are literally
Yeah.
kicking yourself. I mean, the other day I watched this zombie, I think it was a Korean zombie movie,
Okay.
and I was like, oh, I think I'll leave the light on tonight. Oh my God, I'm going to shit myself every time I hear a noise. It's like that. And that's why you watch, that's why you love horror movies.
No,
You
of
like
course,
the
yeah. It's that
psychological
feeling.
aspect
Yeah.
of it. You know that it's been a good horror movie when you walk upstairs and you look upstairs and you go, no, that's not happening.
That's no, I mean
No,
you don't get that feeling no more. I think
no.
I do watch horror movies and I love, oh sorry, Daddy. I love all the old ones. You know, you got The Exorcist, you've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you've got Hills Have Eyes. All the remakes
Conjuring,
have been horrible.
Conjuring.
Oh my, the Conjuring. Oh yeah, like I don't like 2 and 3. Actually, 2 was based in Enfield, which is cool. That's right around the corner from me.
I know.
But
I
yeah,
used to
that's like
live down
literally
there. I didn't even know it
really.
was there. I lived two streets down from there, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, so
And
that's
I
like
didn't even realize that was going on. Well, I was
I
not
know.
born at that time, but I didn't even know that house was there until I watched the
Yeah.
cut and went, no, went right round.
Yeah, I always drive past it and I'm like, that's the house, that's the house.
House, that's the
Uh
house.
that's
It
the
exists,
house.
everybody. It
Yeah,
exists.
it exists. But that's what I'm
It's
saying. Like
huge.
movies now, like they don't have that scare factor. They don't have that element of
No.
like I don't know, just that kind of fair element.
It was a
And
bit, the last installment of the Insidious. So the one
yes,
before with the key, that was actually quite, you got some
mm,
picky outy bits. The key one, the red door, the last one, I was like, what's
the,
that?
the the writing gets really weak, doesn't it? As
What
they
happened here?
continue. But it's not that studios want to turn around like movies like really quickly now. Like so,
Yeah.
as we were talking about the movies in the 80s took 2 to 3 years to make. You know, and you can imagine the amount of effort that goes into these productions. I mean, when I watch John Carpenter's Halloween, like this guy not just directed it, he's the director of photography. He made the soundtrack. He does the editing. He did everything himself. So that person has put blood, sweat, and tears into that. And when I watch that movie to this day, still gets me. And I'm like, what is
Mm.
it about this film? Like the quick edits, the airy soundtrack that he's done. I don't really, it's really rare to hear somebody say now, you know what, I edited that, I filmed that, I directed that, I did the music for that. And, it took him 2, 3 years to make a film where now studios want to turn around a film within 4 to 6 months. So you can imagine Deadpool and Wolverine got shot last year, June, July, and we're getting the movie now. Sorry, not last year, 2 years ago. They announced it 2 years ago. They started filming last year, and now we're getting the movie. And they
But
only
look how
won.
much Ryan Reynolds had to
Yeah,
fight
yeah.
to keep that movie on
Going.
track.
Yeah,
Because if he had allowed the executives or the whoever other producers to literally take over, that film would have been dead,
yeah, yeah,
straight
yeah,
dead.
exactly.
And he wasn't scared to turn around and go, the reason why we're making this movie is because of the last two movies, and that is why we're making this one. And if we do it the way people like it,
Exactly.
then you're on a winner. But if you
Yeah.
start, taking this out or doing this or just changing the genre and the feeling of the movie, it's not going to happen, is it? It's
No.
like all they did when shareholders and executives poke their noses into creativity.
That's
That
yeah.
it's going because they haven't got a clue. It's like somebody telling you who's a doctor, who's not a doctor, telling you that you've got a disease, and you're looking at them going, yeah, all right, I believe you. And you're like, well, what qualifications do you have? None. But I
Yeah.
just think because you're displaying these symptoms, you've got this, so you must have that. It's a bit like the film industry. They're like
Oh yeah, yeah.
they're like these little cells of disease that just literally jet themselves into creativity and then destroy it within
No.
seconds of being
It's
on
it's
set. And you're like, what's the point? Just allow the writers to do their job, allow the
mhm.
producers to produce it and make a movie, because they're the ones that have connected with the fans. They're the ones that know what the fans are. These shareholders and executives, they ain't got a clue. They don't sit there and read the forums. They don't
No,
know.
no, of course, yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know
a
what I mean?
difficult
And
one.
this
It
is
is a difficult
why
one.
Disney has lost so much money,
Hmm.
because they jumped on this woke wagon for some strange reason, and they haven't gone back to the essence of what their audience are. Their audience is children. Don't make cartoons for adults. You make
Yeah, yeah,
cartoons
yeah.
for children. That is your core audience. Stick to your core audience and put a small message in behind it.
Exactly,
Why
exactly.
not let kids grow up with a dream of meeting their princess or prince or something like that? Don't start adding all other things in there to mess it. Their core audience is kids.
Exactly. Exactly.
Don't make adults help, happy. We have to put, adult jokes in a movie.
Don't need to. Yeah, don't
Why
need
do you
to.
think Tangled was so great? It had a little bit of, quirkiness that the adults enjoyed. Frozen. How can you not like Frozen? I mean, we're all sick of it now, but
I am.
seriously?
I am. I think I've seen it 100 times. My
Oh,
daughter's only got into it now, but like, I think,
oh, we've got a couple of years now with that one.
yeah,
But then,
definitely.
and then they come out with this caption. Oh, we're going back to basics. Really, really. And look at the films that they're churning out. We're making a feature film of every single one of. Oh, really? Seriously, it hasn't worked. Their
It's a
feature
tough one.
films are crap. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. There's been maybe one or two. Okay, Lion King was great. I'm not too sure about Aladdin, but apparently everybody liked Aladdin. But every feature film that I've seen from Disney is rubbish. I mean, in my opinion, rubbish. The money that was spent on that, they could have picked out a really good cartoon and put a lot of energy and effort into it and left it at
That's
that.
true. That's true.
Why are they churning it out?
I haven't seen any of the live action.
Dumbo.
Aladdin, I did. Yeah, I seen. See, Dumbo. So I haven't seen any. I think Aladdin is the only one I've seen, and I haven't seen any of the live action ones because I just feel like it will ruin, for me personally, it will ruin what I love about The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, and
Well, look at
I
what
think.
happened with Snow White. So they made Snow White into feature film. The main actress uh, puts out a comment or something, and
Oh yes, yes, yes,
it's
Rachel or
killed the
something. Can't
story.
remember.
It's
Yeah,
killed
yeah,
her. It's killed Disney. It's killed.
yeah,
It's epitome.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
make cartoons for kids.
I know, I know. They won't. It's the thing is, I think the type of world we live in now, where everything is so instant, they're just
Yeah.
another marketing. It's just turnover. They don't care even if they lose money on that project. They will continue turning because they're making money
Yeah.
from different pots now. Because now somebody like Disney owns the Star Wars entity, the
And
Marvel
look what they've
entity.
done to that Star Wars. Look what they've done to Star Wars. They've killed
Ooh,
that as well. How
it's
can you
horrible.
kill Star Wars? I mean, they've done some great, obviously, spin-offs like A Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
And do you know what I mean? And some other ones. Rogue One was the only
I loved it.
spin-off that I really enjoyed.
Same here. That's my favorite. Since then, Rogue One and Mandalorian have been my favorite.
Exactly.
Uh, there hasn't. I mean, the Acolytes. I still need to watch season finale for that one. That one's a bit. That's the thing because we've got so much content now. How does one even get to absorb it? Because with what we got in the 80s and 90s, like I'm a big uh action fan. So, Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme, all of these guys, their
Mm.
films I can still watch now because they've got a rewatchability to it, but they resonated with me, not just because I can relate to the character, because they were just brain numbing, easy to watch films. Like, we don't get, like, I still watch some of the bad action films we get now, but it's like,
Van Damme.
I'd still go put on Predator because I think Predator
I thought
is
it was a
a
good
great
movie.
movie to this day.
Aliens.
Alien, yeah,
Predator.
Aliens. Oh my God. Like,
Rocky.
bring me back those
Rambo.
movies all day long. I can still watch them.
Exactly. Look at
There's
you
no
are
issue.
right. You are
Hmm.
so right. Easy watching.
Yeah.
Easy watching. And yeah,
It gives you time to
crazy.
soak it in. It gives you time to
Yeah.
soak it in, where we don't get that now because we live in that instant reality because shows come out so quickly. We binge shows now where I could wait a week or two to watch a show before. So it's a weird time well, I'm an adult, as an adult now, still a kid inside, maybe not feel it as much, but the kid is still there. Uh, we, I think we're overindulging. We're spoiled with the amount that comes out now, which is the hard part of it. Definitely a
Yeah.
hard part of it. So we will get there. I was going to ask you a question. We're going to go into the cosplay zone now. When did you start cosplaying? Was it
When did I
that
start
time at
cosplaying?
Comic Con or
Right. So our mutual friend, Wolverine Steve, he introduced me to the comic world actually when had an account with TikTok.
okay?
Um, so I was with TikTok for a couple of years and then I shut down my account. I built a good following. I was about,
Yeah.
I don't know, 14,000 followers in that one. And I shut it down because it was so toxic. I
Mm.
mean, toxic comments, toxic behavior. I mean, it was
Yeah.
toxic. So I went, fuck it, I'm leaving here. And I went over
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Instagram, and then I eventually set up, I think it was this year or last year, a TikTok account.
Okay.
And he got me into the Comic Con scene.
Okay.
And it was that, when I was talking about at the beginning, was I went along just to see the very first one, Olympiana, and I think it was in 2008, 2009, I
Wow.
think
All the
somewhere
way
around
back
there.
then. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it a little bit later? Anyway, I think it literally 2 years before COVID, so it must have been around about 2018.
Okay. All
I
right.
think it was 2018 we went to Olympiana. And that was my very first Comic Con. And I thought, okay, then I really enjoyed it. If it's not on your bucket list, you got to go and
You've got
experience
to
it at
go.
least
Yeah.
once.
Exactly.
Okay. Because it's a great exhibition, regardless if you see your celebrity favorite or not. I mean, you get to meet so many people. They're so nice. They're so lovely. You're not looked like you're the odd one out, or
That's
they
right.
don't look at you as why you here. You hear people's stories, and mentally as well, it's so good for your mental health. I mean, you wanted to talk about mental health.
Yes.
It is a fantastic, I mean, yes, people get caught up in life, and mentally you get drained because life does drain you. And going along to some of your childhood favorites and speaking to people, speaking to the artists that did your childhood favorites,
Yeah.
that played into your childhood favorites, they're still alive, they're still going, even now. And the endorphin rush that you get when you're there is incredible. I mean, every time I go, you just get this rush of excitement because
Yeah.
you don't know what to expect. You don't know who,
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes the celebrities sometimes catch you out, and they look for you. I mean, I went to the Birmingham one last year, and I don't know if you know a series called Primeval.
Yes, I do.
Um,
Yeah.
so the guy that was the boyfriend of um the main lead, who was off of S Club 7, I think Natalie somebody or somebody like that. Can't remember. His name is Andrew Potts, and I was cosplaying Hawk Girl at the time,
Okay.
and I was with my godson, and he was there specifically to get autographs from all of his favorite anime designers and artists and stuff like that. And
Yes. Yeah.
he basically
Um,
ran off and he gave me all this stuff, and I dropped it in front of the whole Doctor Who cast.
Oh my.
So we had So we had all the different stages of Doctor Who, and then Andrew Potts, who was in Primeval, was right at the end. But I didn't even know that at all. And
Yeah.
I've been watching him, oh, years before, didn't even notice. And he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, do you mind if I have a picture?" And I'm looking at him going, "I know you." You know, when you look at somebody's, "I know you." And he's like taking pictures and everything like that. And in my head going, "Who the hell are you? I know you."
Brilliant.
We
Absolutely
were
brilliant.
doing the thing. And he goes off, and I'm looking at him going, "Who the hell is he?" I was standing next to his desk, right? Didn't notice. There's a big old sign, Andrew Potts, Primeval, above his little table. Didn't even
Oh,
notice. And I'm going around the exhibition all day going, "I know him. Who the hell is him? I know him." He came and found me again, and we did like a little video thing. And I was like, "I know you now. Andrew
brilliant.
Potts from Primeval."
So good. What cosplay was you in for him to
I was
notice
in
you?
Hawk Girl.
Oh, Hulk Girl. That's
My
right. Yes. Okay.
Instagram, yeah, if you go on Instagram, you'll find out. It was like, that was a
That's sick.
great exhibition. But
That's cool.
Steve said it was that was really straight after COVID.
Yeah.
Normally it's bigger than that, so that's why I'm determined to go back this year and do
Cool.
it in November and see what it's like in November. But I think this year cosplaying is that you need to really go to the exhibitions that embrace cosplay,
That's
whereas
right.
the Olympiana was more about celebrity films and stuff like that. Whereas
That's right.
MGM in the XL, and you've got the one in Birmingham, they're all about cosplay.
They're about cosplay. Yeah.
When
That's right.
when you're with cosplayers and you see people's effort
Yeah.
into all those costumes, you think, oh my God, incredible. I mean, my ambition is to go to Dragon Con in Canada.
Ooh, nice. That'd be a good con.
I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
you'd have to spend some serious money because, you know, you can't turn up with a little leaf saying I'm poison ivy. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
you can't. You got to put the
Yeah.
effort in. I think, what did I do? What did I do? So back then when I did used to cosplay, it was Wolverine or Doctor Strange. And recently, only got back into it recently. I did some photos with a friend back 10 years ago of like Logan. And then I did Star Wars Celebration last year. And it was my first time cosplaying again. And I did Anakin. So I wore the Jedi suit. But then I was like, how do I add a little bit of myself to it?
Mm,
And so, I wore my Nike Dunks with it. And everybody was like, you know what? I couldn't have seen Kibler do something better to put a part of himself into that cosplay as well. Because
mm,
don't get me wrong, a lot of people, the effort they put into the outfits and you know putting it together is an art in itself. It's
mm.
amazing to see.
It's an
Uh,
enjoyable, yeah. It's
so
really
mine, yeah. So it
enjoyable.
was like mine was very simple, but I look at other people's cosplay and I'm like, oh my god, wow, that's amazing. Like how long
I
did that
know.
take you to
Makes
make?
you
And
sick, innit? They're better than yours. You're like, oh, all right then. I was so happy there wasn't another Catwoman there because I would be like, oh, all right then, yeah, okay. Here's the gun.
it's still there. It plays it because some of the guys that made like lightsaber hilts and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my god, like I bought mine off like I can't even remember where I bought it from, but it looks good. But I was like, your one looks amazing, dude. And like, how
Oh
long did it
no,
take you? And they would tell me like they've got the patience to wait 6 months to put little pieces together. And I'm like, that's an art in itself to have patience. I think
dedication
is
that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
dedication and having that sort of like with me and art, yes, I could take 3 years to finish off a piece because that's my piece. So I can
Yeah.
understand that art form of when you're putting something together like that. But no, absolutely amazing. I've kept you here long enough, and I think we've gone through
Oh, we
so
could go
much.
on for another hour, couldn't
I
we?
know we could, and I don't. I know it's Friday, and I gotta get this little one have a nap before I pick up her sister. But Anna, thank you so much for coming onto the show. We actually spoke about quite a lot, and it's always nice having somebody who has a passion in what they do and what they love. And I can't thank you enough. Uh, yeah, no, definitely. I'll have to get you back on the show again. We could just continue this conversation
Yeah.
because it's a very easy conversation because we've had people in the past where it's very what's the word? It's not really conversational. Podcasts are hard to do because people end up thinking there's going to be set questions, and you do throw set questions in there, but it's always nice to have a guest that really just
Doesn't
goes
shut
through.
up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's exactly that. That works because that's what the
Don't shut
listeners
up.
want. The
Get me
listeners
going.
want to hear the person that's in their passion talk about what they do and how they feel, and it's always nice to get honest opinions as well. So, like your thoughts on the industry, your thoughts on the type of work, and your thoughts on movies right now. That will resonate with somebody, and then I'll get a great message saying, "Get Anna back on the show again. We
I
want to
hope
hear
so.
more about this."
Get
Of
me back.
course,
Start a
definitely will
petition.
do.
You want me back? I want at least 20 followers, or one would do. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy
No,
with half.
definitely.
By
No,
that point, I would have graduated as a geek then.
you've graduated as a geek ages ago. Don't there's never a level of geekiness. I've got to say that as long as you're we're young at heart, isn't it? So we're not.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that plays a big part, and I think what I always tell the listeners towards the end of the show is that like it's so important to embrace yourself
Mm.
because that's always a very hard journey. And I suppose I only learned that 10 years ago when I started getting into this world of putting my artwork out there and being me and not, I
Best
suffered
thing to do.
imposter syndrome for such a long time. I didn't even
Yeah.
accept myself for who I am and what I love because I felt like people will treat me differently and people will see me differently. But once you say, F it, I am who I am and I know
Yeah.
what I love,
Yeah.
everything changes for you and it opens up
Exactly.
different doorways and you meet amazing people. So I get to,
Totally agree.
through Wolver Steve, I get to meet Anna, and I've got to meet so many other people across the journey. So I want to say a massive thank you from the Brothers Geek Out podcast for jumping on.
Thank you for having me on.
And we'll definitely get you back on another show. I think
Yeah.
we pick a like, we'll pick a topic and I think we'll break it down because I feel like you've got a lot to say, whether it's music or, you know, comic books or something else.
Yeah,
We'll figure something out.
I'm
It'll be
happy to
great to
waffle
have you
through
back on.
that. Yeah, definitely.
Bless you.
If you're around in November, we'll do a podcast there
Yes,
and then.
definitely.
I will
Yes,
be
that'd be
in
awesome.
drag,
Awesome. No,
definitely.
that'd be good. I will. So that's the one in, is that NEC Birmingham?
That was the NEC Birmingham. I think it's in November. I need to check it out. But it'd be nice to meet up, and we can
No,
drop the
definitely.
sleeve there as well. And we can do
No, definitely.
a podcast of the day in life of a cosplayer.
Of course,
Long
definitely.
hours. Long
No, that'd
hours.
be great. No, definitely. I'll let me note that down. I usually go to all of them. I think I did, what did I do last year? I think when we went to Birmingham last year, I did my first panel, and it was
Ooh.
about mental health in movies and comic books. And I've done a podcast for 8 years with my brother. So it should come natural to me. But as soon as I got onto that stage, oh my God, my heart was coming out of my chest. I was like, I'm not a
Clam up,
performer.
don't you?
Yeah. And then
No, you can't
suddenly,
even add up.
yeah, no, definitely. And I got up on stage, I sat there. You can see the footage. I looked so nervous. And then I love comic books. I love artwork. I love mental health. You know, it's important to raise awareness, important that on an even day to day, how much we go through. And just to get through the day is an accomplishment. So yeah, it was a horrible but exciting experience, which I didn't stop talking in the end because they were like, "Oh my God, Kibler's gone into podcast mode." Uh, but yeah, what an experience! But yeah, definitely that'd be great. That'd be great. But again, massive thank you for coming on and thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Okay. Thank you so much.